What did you make of the allocation towards glass, for example, particularly in Kentucky and the United States?
I think Tim Cook is being very strategic about giving the administration what they want, which is investment in the US, but doing so in a way that is feasible. So it's still not about bringing production of the iPhone back, but really leaning into some of the partners like Corning and manufacture. The mastery of this is not just about the iPhone and Apple Watches that are sold in the States that will source glass from Corning in Kentucky, but internationally. So it's given that extra part to the administration about saying, okay, we are manufacturing here and shipping outside the US the glass that goes in every iPhone and every Apple Watch.
It's interesting, we're seeing Tim Cook speaking there, but he was previously holding a box that contained circular Corning glass plaque engraved with the president's name mounted onto a 24-karat gold stand, which we understand was also designed by an Apple designer who's previously a US Marine, Carolina. This was politicking at its best from Tim Cook.
Absolutely. There was a lot of political theater during that press conference. It was about really making sure that Apple doesn't get into the eye of the cyclone when it comes to tariffs and really lifting what is possible. So, for instance, the mention of Houston and the server factory. Again, we are not talking about bringing iPhone or Mac, for that matter, or anything else back to the US. We are trying to invest where it makes sense from a business perspective for Apple while creating some jobs, but most importantly, bringing money back to the US and letting the administration then talk about it.
But we actually heard President Trump talk about it with the words coming out of his mouth that was the long-term goal of having US-sold iPhones made in the US. Is just the glass enough and maybe the odd wafer and semiconductor?
Is enough for now. The long term is really critical here because it will take time. The supply chain, most of the supply chain is still not in the US. So the skill sets that we need from just a factory perspective and workers is not in the US, and the cost, of course. So is giving enough during the 4 year of the administration and, to placate maybe the demands and continue to invest in America.
Interesting that skill set you say, and they're actually Apple investing in Detroit in particular on sort of a manufacturing academy for training people and companies in terms of manufacturing locally. But going to just the intricacies of supply chain here, Carolina, you're getting glass from the US in Kentucky and maybe some wafers in the future. And then you're shipping that back to China to then have it all put together and neatly built and then shipped back to the US. This feels very expensive.
It's cheaper than not having it done here, and that's the problem. We don't have the facilities yet, and I think it's interesting, as you pointed out, the Detroit manufacturing learning facility that Apple is setting up, because maybe the point is to create different sets of skills that are linked to automation. And that is where maybe with AI and automation, we will see manufacturing being brought back to the US. But yeah, shipping back and forth is not ideal, but the pieces that you're shipping back and forth and where the rest of the iPhone is still in Asia.
Briefly, I lean into your supply chain expertise here because you don't just cover Apple, a plethora of companies. What do you make of this threat for 100% tariff on semiconductors and who that ultimately implicates if they don't get a carve out?
Well, obviously, that is, we've seen the impact of the tariffs so far on earnings, and we're still in the middle of earnings season. But what is important that we don't have a clarification is what that building in the U.S. means. How much investment is a company going to have to make in the U.S. to not fall into this tariff promise of 100%. And Apple seems to have made enough. NVIDIA is also investing here, and I'm sure others like TSMC have done, will continue to do so.